they're coming this way, right? Because if they're coming this way, I don't need to wait.
They're supposed to be where they are. Yeah, I believe they are. They're still scheduled, I believe they are.
So I can put the microphones in.
Hmm?
Because the reason we didn't put the microphones in is because we thought we were coming this way.
I still believe
But they're coming this way now.
I believe they are.
If
I
they're
should
coming,
be changed.
I should be able to put in microphones. I shouldn't have to put it in after them then.
I honestly don't. I need to find Alex Field.
Ask Alex. Alex.
Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honourable Mayor Amor Mortley, President of the European Commission, Ms. Ursula von der Leyen, Honourable Ministers of Cabinet of the Government of Barbados and other government officials, members of President von der Leyen's delegation and cabinet, ambassadors of member states of the European Union, captains of industry of the Barbadian and European private sectors, respectively, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. Good morning to all of you. Certainly, it's a pleasure to welcome you to Illawarra Court, the official residence of the Prime Minister of Barbados. My name is Chad Blackman, the Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Investment, and I will be your moderator for this morning's proceedings. Certainly, I want to say how great it is for us to be here this morning on a very historic occasion. And why is that? Not only is it the first official visit to Barbados of President von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, to this country, and I'm told to the region, but equally, it's the first time that the President of the European Commission is coming also to Barbados and to the region. But certainly, I'm of the view, and I'm hopeful that this is not going to be your last. And we welcome you once again to not only our shores, but to the Caribbean. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to witness the most recent and tangible expression of outputs between the strong collaborative efforts and relationship between Barbados and the European Union. Today we will witness the signature of the letter of intent between Export Barbados and Biomedics, and we will also mark the launch of Renew Stable Barbados project. I will now invite Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology, the Honourable Marshall Kettle, to give you some remarks. I'm going to have to adjust it for you.
I know you got me covered. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Prime Minister, Your Excellency, distinguished friends and colleagues all. Good morning. It is an honor to be here this morning reflecting on the fact that in 2018, when we came to service as a government, in framing the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Plan, there was one way in which we thought that the Barbados economy and country would be able to distinguish ourselves as we got onto the business of recovery, but then transformation. And we identified that in the BERT, what we call BERT 1.0, as a high-skill, knowledge-based economy. We are now at BERT 2.0, having successfully achieved recovery and being on to growth and transformation. And today marks one of many efforts to be able to bring that high-skilled, knowledge-based economy to the way in which we craft opportunities for the people of Barbados, and in fact, the way in which we show what Barbados can bring to the world in collaboration with our partners and in the context of the multilateral system. Now, the truth is that the populations that are represented in this region are greatly underrepresented in biotechnology and biomedical research. Barbados has developed quite a bit of information about ourselves and about our populations, and we now have an opportunity through the use of molecular technology and artificial intelligence research to bring those methodologies to bear on the data that we collect in order to understand what are the health profiles of people who look like us and sound like us and move through life like us. We believe that once we understand that better, especially as it relates to cardiomolecular diseases, that we can bring that knowledge to the world, and that we can also create a space where others can come and do research and create innovative cutting-edge technology to solve medical problems for us and for the rest of the world. And so that is one of the reasons that it gives us great pleasure to be able to launch this biomedics cooperation with Export Barbados, and with a company that has excelled in being able to create knowledge campuses in cities and in other parts of the world. We believe that Barbados can be one big campus, to know more, to show the world more, to teach the world more in products and solutions that solve problems. And so I'm very pleased to be able to participate in this signing. We've been led from our side by Mark Hill, the head of Export Barbados, who will represent us in the signing. And he has had very strong conversations with Dr. Tadona and the team from Biomedics. And we cannot wait to see everything that this partnership will produce. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for those remarks and also the scene setting. And therefore, it gives me great pleasure at this time, ladies and gentlemen, to invite the signatories of the letter of intent to take their place. Well, they're already seated. And I'd also like to invite both Prime Minister Motley and President von der Leyen to witness, and they'll be escorted to the signing. You might have to sit. Thank you very much. May I now invite Senator the Honorable Lisa Cummins, Minister of Energy and Business Development, to provide for us an overview of the Renew Stable Barbados project. Minister.
Good morning, everyone. Prime Minister, Madam, okay, I think I'm getting it right here. Good morning, everyone. It is my privilege to be here this morning to share just for a few moments about the Renew Stable project. We have the principals here. I'm happy to have the CEO here with us from France and the other principals of the HDF project here in Barbados. Prime Minister Motley and President Macron, some time ago, not too long ago, shared a letter of support for this particular project. It is Barbados's very first hydrogen project. It combines the use of solar technology, in which Barbados has been an exemplar and a leader globally and certainly locally, and hydrogen cell technology from France, along with battery technology to be able to provide a fixed source of energy to the grid here in Barbados. We're very pleased that not only have we been able to launch the project here today, but we have been able to conclude the majority of the negotiating processes with the off-taker. We have completed the connection impact assessment to allow for the technical work for the project to be brought to closure. And we have seen with the European Union a landmark collaboration of a number of development partners. We have seen the Global Climate Fund come on board, the European Investment Bank, Inter-American Development Bank, IDB Invest, and the International Financial Corporation of the World Bank working in support of this project. And an important part of it for Barbados is the syndication of local and domestic financial partners alongside our development partners. And so not only has this been a flagship project for in the energy sector and the technology sector as well, given the use of hydrogen cell technology, but it has been an outstanding partnership with the European Union, and I want to celebrate the partners who are here today. And we now have an office which we opened a few months ago here in Barbados, and we are looking forward to turning ground and getting this project up off the ground as a demonstration of our collaboration and our partnership with the European community, with the development partners, and of course, Barbados being that leader in the renewable energy space. And I want to thank Prime Minister and President Macron for coming in very early and giving support and leadership to this project. Thank you very much, and we're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you very much, Minister. It's very clear, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot happening between Barbados and the European Union. And you've witnessed this morning, not just the signing, but of course the overview from our two ministers who've spoken so eloquently as to the manifestation of that relationship, and long may it continue. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we will now commence the press conference, and may I invite both Prime Minister Motley and President von der Leyen to come to the podium, and we'll invite Prime Minister Motley to make her statement first, followed by President von der Leyen, and then, of course, be open to the press at their wish this morning.
Thank you very much, Minister Blackman, President von der Leyen, distinguished guests all, members of the media. This is a special day for our country and represents another step in the mature relationship between Barbados and the European Union. 49 years ago, I dare say I was merely 10 years old, when the relationship started. And over the course of the last 49 years, there have been tangible expressions of that cooperation between our two entities. European Union, representing a number of countries, 27 countries I believe now, and Barbados seeking to ensure that both individually and as a member initially of the ACP and now as the OACP, and I believe that we actually are chairing the OACP as we speak now, that we are in a position to move from strength to strength. The world is facing very difficult challenges, as we are all aware. The climate is affecting all of us, even though we were the initial canaries in the mine, and we welcome the support and cooperation of the European Union in particular as we confront this existential crisis and seek to build greater resilience for our people as we go forward. The area of renewable energy is clearly one of the major offshoots of that response to the climate crisis, and therefore this morning the update that we received with respect to the issue of the investment in the production of hydrogen is an important one for our country. It also allows for a stability in the supply of power to the grid in a way that solar doesn't, and therefore the combination of the two becomes even more important to us. I think that we recognize that our conversations on renewable energy should not be limited to Barbados, and I hope in the course of the next 2 days, when you will have the opportunity not just to meet with myself, but to meet with all of the other heads of state and heads of government who are here for the CARICOM meeting, that we will be able to explore opportunities for even deeper and wider cooperation on the matter of renewable energy. As it relates to the medical and biomedical area and pharmaceuticals, this relationship did not just start. Indeed, in Sharm el-Sheikh, in Egypt, we had the opportunity with Dr. Tedros from the WHO, as well as with the head of the European Investment Bank, and with the president of Rwanda, and remotely with the president of Guyana, to lay the parameters for a partnership framework which has already produced benefits for us. It is due to the cooperation of the European Union that Barbados was able to launch its white book with respect to the regulatory framework for the pharmaceutical industry, and we thank you publicly for that. And we continue now to be able to move to the next stages with respect to legislative framework, as well as the establishment of the regulatory mechanisms that are critical for us to be able to attract companies here to do manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, as well as we are seeing through the signature of this agreement and with other partnerships, research in critical areas. You heard the minister say that there has been very little research done in the pharmaceutical industry for conditions that is based on our genes as persons of African descent. Indeed, the numbers for diabetes, I'm told, that are available, less than 7% of the persons tested come from African background. And to that extent, it is of great concern to us, because I often say in our country that we are suffering from a diabetes epidemic. And therefore, the pharmacological efficacy of the pharmaceuticals really does matter to us, because this is where the rubber hits the ground, not just for us who are in press conferences, but for that woman in St. Lucie or that man somewhere in St. Philip who themselves are not being able to benefit and who have become a victim either of an amputation because of uncontrolled diabetes, or who have themselves now suffering from kidney problems or indeed blindness, some of the other consequences of the diabetic condition. And I want to make this clear, because very often we see these press conferences and you wonder, how does this relate to the average man and woman? And this is where the rubber is going to hit the ground for Bajans, Caribbean people, and indeed Africans across the world, not just in Africa, but in the diaspora, because we need to shift the attention of the pharmaceutical industry to be able, particularly in an era of personalized medicine, precision medicine, to be able to shift it to allow us to be equally the beneficiaries of the wonderful research that's being done. I am clear that the European Union's help in this area has been pivotal in terms of allowing Barbados to be where we are. We had an ecosystem from 1882, that, as I said yesterday, that made pharmaceuticals, but only fill and finish. But what we have recognized is that we are best off in development thrusts, where we take and build on an existing ecosystem, and that is simply what we are trying to do here. With respect to the other areas of cooperation, we have had extensive discussions on the issue of the difficulties that we've had with respect to blacklisting and grey listing, and mercifully Barbados is off of those lists now, but there is one remaining factor that is not in the control of the Commission, but in the control of the European Parliament, and we hope to be able to sensitize them as to its importance to us, because this is also where it hits, the rubber hits the ground with respect to companies that are Bajan investing in Europe, or companies that may be financing or accessing financing out of Europe, and we would want for there to be no further obstacles with respect to our relationship. We've also spoken about the Bridgetown Initiative, which is critical to all of us in terms of creating a fairer and more transparent deal for countries accessing the international financial institutions. And Europe's support generally has been there. There are some things that we have still to do, and we would want to see greater participation in the belief that per capita income alone cannot be the basis for accessing concessional financing or grant financing as we fight this climate crisis, which we didn't start, but that we need to be able to also have a clear understanding of vulnerability, in particular climate vulnerability, and in particular with respect to the acknowledgement that many small island developing states face wipeout risk. There are some other issues that I hope over time that we will be able to discuss to strengthen our partnership, because I believe that our collective voices in pursuit of fighting this climate crisis, boosting resilience and adaptation, and seeking to mitigate by increased use of renewables will help us all. I am aware that fossil fuels are not necessarily the enemy. What is the enemy is the emissions. And if there are those persons who believe strongly that there are other ways, then we should be increasing significantly the investment to decarbonize the fossil fuels rather than simply denying the existence of the climate crisis. So with these words, I'd like to formally thank you and welcome you. There are other areas of cooperation, but I am conscious of the time and simply say that whether it is in terms of satellite communication, digital cooperation, AI, both you and my minister were at the summit last week in Paris related to AI, the issue of AI regulation and AI possibilities, and then of course the very difficult issue of cybersecurity risk, and we've already benefited from the European Union in our own preparations for the legislation with respect to that. So let me also thank your representatives in Barbados, Ambassador Gosha. Everybody knows Gosha. And to say that not only there, but also the representatives of the European Investment Bank, more particularly as expressed in the debt for climate swap, which has just recently been completed, which has been truly innovative in terms of not allowing the benefits of the debt swap to be taken year by year by year over 15 years, but to take it and aggregate it such that the capital investment that is being made with respect to the South Coast Sewage Treatment Plant comes up front rather than having to wait 15 years for the benefit of that debt swap. So with a lot is happening, but more importantly than anything, your presence here speaks volumes. You are the first woman to head the European Commission, and that in and of itself, I know is a matter of immense pride for us. And like me, I know that you have come not to be the first, not to be the last, but to ensure that others can come after you. Secondly, you are the first president to visit Barbados and the Caribbean, and to that extent also at this point in time when Europe is facing its own challenges, and when Europe, as recent as the beginning of this week, had a summit to be able to determine how best it is going to address the challenges that go fundamentally to the heart of Europe's stability. That you are still here speaks volumes to us and about the importance of this partnership, not just with my own country, Barbados, but with the Caribbean community. And I look forward to being able, therefore, to work with you in a mature way that will bring value to our countries and to our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, dear Mia. Thank you for hosting me here in Barbados. Indeed, it's the first time that I'm here. It's fantastic. It's a big, big pleasure for me to join not only you, but also our partners at the CARICOM Summit. And I've crossed the Atlantic to share with you how much Europe values its partnership with the Caribbean. We live indeed in an unpredictable world. In these times, it's more important than ever to stick together, to stand up for our values, and to deepen ties with friends. And despite being, let's say, an ocean apart, Europe and the Caribbean are very close at heart. We are strong and vibrant democracies. We are convinced that it is of big importance to defend the multilateralism and the rule of law. We believe in freedom and in the right of people to choose their own future. And this is why you have been standing with Ukraine since the very beginning of the war. Ukraine is a future member of the European family, so supporting them means also supporting us. And it is important to call also what you've always done for just peace, not only in Ukraine, but also in the Middle East, in Sudan and Haiti. While sharing our values, we also face some of the same challenges. When devastating hurricanes sweep through your islands, the Hurricane Beryl last July was mentioned several times, Europe wants to be by your side. We provide emergency support to those who've lost everything. We're rebuilding together. Actually, we're currently supporting Grenada to rebuild Carriacou and Petite Martinique with the goal of making the islands 100% powered by renewable energy. And we've just discussed how to strengthen our cooperation in resilience and preparedness. So to work closer together, to have a foresight when these natural disasters, often related to climate change, the extreme weather events hit. We know that the fight against climate change is truly existential. And in the face of hardship, the Caribbean are showing incredible leadership, especially you, my dear Mia. You've amplified the voice of small island nations on the global stage to the benefit of all humanity. This was key, for example, to launch the Loss and Damage Fund together at COP29. It amounts to almost 750 million in pledge, half of it covered by Europe and its member states, because climate finance is another very important challenge. Europe wants to be the leading provider. We contribute well beyond our fair share of the 100 billion annual target, but we know that given the scale of the transition and given the urgency, we need new and innovative financing tools in addition, like green bonds and carbon and nature credits, for example, what we're working on. And we need to bring the private sector fully on board with a smarter use of private and public funds. With your Bridgetown initiative, dear Mia, you are leading the way to making green and development financing fairer, more accessible, more affordable, so that the climate targets can be met. Another initiative you mentioned, it is renewable energy. At COP28, we agreed on global targets for renewable and energy efficiency. We want to triple renewable energy and double energy efficiency by 2030. And to implement these goals, we created the Global Energy Transition Forum, because only what gets measured get done, and we need really that the goals on paper are done on the ground and are materializing there and implemented. And this year, Barbados joined the Global Energy Transition Forum. I'm very, very glad about that. That's great. It will allow us to deliver concrete projects on the ground and unlock more investment for the transition, and I hope that many Caribbean nations will follow your example. This brings me to our bilateral work. The starting point for us is our investment program, Global Gateway. That's the investment program abroad for partners. It is already at work here in Barbados and across the Caribbean. And together with Hydrogène de France, we've just signed the first green hydrogen storage project in Barbados. For us, it's important that renewable energy is homegrown, and therefore it's cheaper. It gives you energy independence, and it gives you energy security, and it is the energy of the future because it's clean energy. We are, as you said, also working on the health sector. I think both of us have learned our bitter lessons in COVID and how vulnerable we are. And therefore, we support your pharmaceutical sovereignty. That means vaccines and medication produced in the Caribbean, for the Caribbean, but also to be a hub for the rest of the world. And we've just signed the biomedical partnership between BioMedX, a European biotech company, and Barbados. And tomorrow we'll launch PharmaNext, a project that really boosts innovation and investments across the Atlantic, because it also aligns the regulatory environment that is so important to move forward. We have other great projects in the Caribbean, and one has really caught my attention, and dear Mia, we didn't talk about it, but it needs to be mentioned here. And that's in Barbados and Grenada, we're turning the sargassum threat into an opportunity. And I think this is really smart. We are working to transform this harmful algae into fertilizer, biomass, and even cosmetics. You might want to think about it. This project has, and this is phenomenal, the potential to leverage almost $400 million in investment. And actually, we're bringing thus a harmful algae. We're fighting against the harmful algae, but turning it into an opportunity that brings revenues. So it couldn't be better. Finally, we're bringing the Caribbean closer together and closer to us with digital connectivity. Tomorrow we'll commit with Spain to deliver high-speed and internet via satellite to even the most remote communities here. So the last kilometer, that is always so difficult, we're going to manage that now via satellite. To me, the spirit of Global Gateway is needed more than ever. We're investing in value chains, we're investing in skills, we're investing in jobs. We are sharing knowledge and technologies for the benefit of both sides. We're looking into a long-term and trusted partnership. And we are convinced that a win-win situation is the most beneficial for our people and our economy. So thank you very much again for having me here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Ursula. And may I say, I've said to Ursula that Barbados is hosting CariFesta in August.
Yeah.
And that while this is her first visit in terms of work, that I trust and pray that she will come with her family to enjoy the best of the Caribbean, from the north to the south, the east to the west, in food and fashion, in dance, music, art, in talk, which we do a lot of in the Caribbean, and in all other forms of cultural expression. So I hope you take that back to Germany with you and to your family there, and of course to Brussels, to the wider European family. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my dear. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think we go now to the living room to take some photographs. Thank you. Thank you very much. There were no questions, I don't think, right? You didn't want any questions?
You're the boss.
No. Nothing? 1, 2, 3, gone.